everybody. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We are at the spot. And this is Plan Your Greatness TV. Oh no, Plan Your Greatness channel, not Plan Your Greatness TV. Well, it's called the Plan Your Greatness TV channel. And I am your gracious host, Carlton Hamilton. And thanks again for joining me today. We are starting back on this journey of producing this content and sharing a little bit about myself, my life. We're gonna get in deep with some stuff, but we're gonna start off specifically from the book. And so, if you've watched the other videos from my notes, we talked about kind of how I got started writing the book, and this is the book right here. This is How to Plan Your Greatness. It's on Amazon, and when you get on Amazon, you'll also see this book right here. I know it's inverted until I can get better equipment and get the true camera. This is on my phone, but Fair Exchange, Conversation with an Uber Driver, that was back when I had my transportation company, and I also had it on the Uber platform. And I have almost 400 interviews that I've had with customers, and we talked about some very specific things. I asked 4 very specific questions to get some good feedback. And so it's a very short read, but it gives you a little insight as far as how we're moving and in the world. And I'm actually editing another book that I wrote from my experience. I haven't quite got the name of it yet, but it just talks about what's the first word that comes to mind when you think of what separates the people from being successful versus unsuccessful. That was something that came in the conversation with this, but this one talks about people just what is the first word that comes to mind when you think of your journey. And I had a theory behind the words that people came up with, and I look at that and I think it tells a story as far as the words that people use. You can tell if they are living a successful and abundant life as opposed to the other words that they use, that they are still maybe on this hamster wheel treadmill of problems. All right. So yes, we're talking about how to plan your greatness. We've talked about the mission statement, the vision statement. We talked about what drove the book, the 3 questions. What do you want? Why do you want it? Do you have this image in your mind on what it is that you're going after? Now, in the book, okay, as you open up the book, you're going to see, there's the cover. Then you're going to see the title, okay? Look at my camera. It's got to get used to this different lighting. So again, as I do more of this, you're going to see the quality of these videos get better. Then I have right there, which is the mission and vision statement. Then I have right there, which is we're going to talk about right now, is my 3 truths. Now I got to give a shout out to, there is a YouTube channel and a podcast, Instagram page, guy by the name of Lewis Hawes. He has a channel called The School of Greatness. And so as you're on content, on the internet looking at content, I came across his channel. Loved his interviews, loved his story, loved where he came from, loved where he is right now. And he would always ask at the very end of the interview, he would say, what are your 3 truths? And what is your definition of greatness? Now, we're not going to get into the definition of greatness, but we are going to get into where he asks them, what are their 3 truths? And so as I'm watching the show, I said, what are my 3 truths? And this was before I even wrote the first book. So I had to think about that, because a lot of times we ask people questions and we've not answered them ourselves. And I just went to, right before I started this video, I went to Lewis Hawes' his website, lewishawes.com, and he talks about his 3 truths. He said he'd always ask everyone the question, but he would kind of hold his 3 truths close to his heart. And again, I don't just willy-nilly share my 3 truths with everybody, but I'm here because we're talking about the book. I'm going to share my 3 truths because they are in the book. All right. So I think these are important. Just like I think every successful person has asked and answered the 3 questions. What do they want? Why do they want it? And they all have a clear image in their mind as to what it looks like when they reach those goals. And so with that being said, these are my 3 truths that I believe are so important in life. All right. So I'm gonna read them. I don't have them memorized on top of my head. I just know that I got these 3 truths. So I'm gonna read them and then we're gonna go into a little bit of detail. The first one, it says, parents, I believe, have the most important responsibility in the world. You will either raise a world builder or a world destroyer. So my first truth is, I believe parents have the most important responsibility on this world. And if you do not take that seriously, you're going to end up you're either going to raise a destroyer. Because if you take that seriously, like I said, you're going to raise a world builder or a world destroyer. I'm an example of that. As far as looking at my son and daughter, I know that I dropped the ball a little bit as far as allowing their mother to have more influence over their lives as far as the things that I'm doing in life and the things that she's doing. She has allowed, or I've allowed her, like some people say, well, you didn't allow her. I said, well, then if you look at what has happened with the children, I should have taken more of an active role in raising them, thinking that she was going to be more nurturing. So that's why I know if you are, as parents or as a single parent, if you take that role seriously, you're going to raise a world builder. If you don't take that role seriously, or if then you're going to be playing catch up. And that's what I'm doing a little bit right now, is I'm playing catch up with my son and daughter. Hopefully I have the resources and the energy and the time to get them to become very upstanding and productive citizens. Number 2, this goes back to the book. And like I've said this before, everything I do is themed behind those 3 questions and the 9 pillars of wisdom or success that I will share later on when I get around to that chapter in the book. All right. So number 2 is, I believe you need to ask yourselves the 3 questions. What do you want? Why do you want it? And can you see in your mind's eye achieving what you want? And you need to do that as early as possible. In my store every Sunday, I have my business partner, her youngest son comes in the store and cleans the store. Okay. And I told him, I said, what's your goal? He also plays football. So I said, you've got to be very intentional everywhere you go. You walk into the classroom, you got to be intentional of what you're doing there. Why do you need to get good grades, or why do you want good grades? Because you can go on to college or whatever. Okay. Or it's just going to set you up for success later on. But you have to have a plan. When you leave out of that classroom and you go on the football field, what's your plan? What is your intention? And then I brought it full circle. I said, so that when you come in this store, even though you're just cleaning the shelves, you're cleaning the cases, you're sweeping and you're mopping, you're doing that stuff, you're getting a couple of dollars for doing that. But what is your goal? Because I told him, I said, you should be able to, he's in the store for 3 hours. I said, you should be able to sweep, mop, clean up all the cases, take out the trash and do all that stuff within a 3-hour period. He hasn't been able to figure out how to be efficient doing that. And I said, that's your goal every day. That when you leave here, you haven't broken anything and that you have cleaned this store up completely. That is your goal. You need to challenge yourself every single day. Too often, we've got people that just wake up every day as it's an accident. I'm just going to just kind of wander through the day with no goal, no purpose, no direction. And then they wonder why they don't really have anything, or they've not really maximized what they're doing. They're not the best at what they're doing. And then some people will say, well, what if he doesn't want to be the best? I said, then I'll say this. Whenever somebody challenges me to say, well, what if I don't want that? I go, then I better never see you complain. If you don't want to be the best version of yourself, then don't you dare complain or look at somebody crazy that is going after their goal. Because people try to do that as a cop-out. Well, I don't really want that. I said, fine. I don't care what you want, but don't you dare complain when you don't have something, or complain when you see somebody busting their ass trying to get more and trying to do more and be more. You see what I'm saying? People think they slick. Now, see, nowadays that's too common. Oh, well, I have no desire to do any of this stuff. I said, that's fine. But what I'm going to tell you is, don't you dare complain about things that you don't have, or look at somebody sideways for trying to have more of something, or just trying to be the best version of themselves. Okay? Number 3, when we are faced with a decision and all factors have been weighed and proper due diligence results in a logical and emotional tie. Now, understand that you want to make a decision on something, but when you look at everything emotionally and logically, it's a tie. I say, err on the side of your emotions. Why do I say that? Because we will have no regrets at the end as our life comes to an end. Now, I'll explain that. Okay? Too often, let me see, and this was the example I always think of. Let's say a girl from New Jersey decides to go all the way across the country to go to school at UCLA. And she knows she's going to go to law. She's going to go and study pre-law, and then she's going to try to get into some prestigious law school. Okay? So she does it. She goes to UCLA, USC, something on the West Coast, because she wants to get out of that cold weather. She wants to go to a nice warm weather place. You can pick any place you want. You can say Texas. You can say Florida. Okay? But she leaves her home and she goes, and I'm using it the farthest point. She's going from New York, New Jersey, all the way to UCLA to go to school. She finishes her bachelor's. Then she decides that she now is going to go to Harvard Law or whatever. She's going to go back to the East Coast to study law school. All of a sudden, she meets a guy. Where's that guy from? The guy's from Los Angeles. He's from UCLA. She goes, oh my God, you're back. Yeah, wait a minute. We were in school together. How come I didn't see you? Blah, blah, blah. So now she forms a bond with this guy. She starts dating this guy. She finishes law school at Harvard Law. Now she's facing a dilemma. I'm finishing law school. What are you going to do with that relationship? Now she goes, let me look at this. Now she starts looking for law firms to work for. She gets a bunch of offers. The guy lives in California. She gets an offer from a nice firm in New York near her home. But she also gets an offer on the West Coast in LA, close to that guy. If you following what I'm saying, I would tell her, and the guy's he's not a creep. He's a good guy. Let's just say he's a lawyer too, but he goes to law school on the West Coast. He finishes law school. They finish law school at the same time or whatever. Or he's at Harvard Law, but then he moves back to the West Coast. And he says, hey, I really like you, but I'm going to stay here on the West Coast. Now, some of y'all will say, forget that dude. You know, if he really likes you, he'll stay on the East Coast. Nah, but he goes to the West Coast. He's a good guy. And she really thinks that this will work out. I say, go for it. Err on the side of your emotions. Go out there on the West Coast, because the thing is, your logic, everything comes out. You're getting the same offer. You see what I'm saying? Everything is the same. You're getting an offer that is comparable to if you lived in California, that if you lived on the East Coast. You've got the same opportunities. The law firm's going to give you the opportunity. You're going to be able to practice the type of law that you want. I'm saying everything is falling in place. But the only difference is that guy is on the West Coast. Go to the West Coast. Give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, the one thing that you'll be able to always be able to do is, if you're going to go back to the East Coast, you'll be able to go back and say, hey, I gave it a shot. I mean, give it a true, honest shot, because it may work out. If it doesn't work out, you do not want to be at some bar 55, 60, 70 years old, sipping on something and saying, man, I wish I had given that a shot. Always err on the side of the emotional part of it when the logic and the emotion is a tie. So those are my three truths. First of all, parenting is the most important job. Take it seriously. You're either going to be raising a world mover, builder, or a world destroyer. Number two, ask yourself those three questions as soon as possible. What do you want? Why do you want it? Can you see it in your mind? The sooner you ask yourself that question, the sooner you're going to be more focused, and then you're going to be able to make adjustments. Because I'll talk about it later on that I don't believe in a plan B. You have a plan A, and as you go along, you make adjustments. Then whatever's there, that's your plan A. Because I believe if you're making a plan B, now you're kind of looking over your shoulder, and you're always looking for something to maybe fail so that you can jump on that plan B. Nope. Plan A, make the necessary adjustments, like what they call course correcting, or in our missiles in the military, they call it the reticular activating system, where it constantly course corrects. I think they're making what our mind does with information. We're constantly trying to bring everything in focus. And that's what the course correcting, the reticular activating system in our mind. And so we do that. We're always trying to course correct. So you always have that plan A and just make adjustments to that. Number three, what is number three? That is, if you have a decision and the logical side of it, the money, everything has this answer, and the emotion is in the equation, and they're a tie. Always err on the side of the emotion, because that is the one thing that will eat at you for the rest of your life. If you make a logical decision, okay, I took this job at this firm versus this job, or I went over here and this company, you'll never be bothered with logical decisions if they don't go the right direction. Or if you had two decisions and they were logical, and you just said, well, I'm gonna choose this one over this one. You would never go back and go, you just think, I chose the one I thought was the best. But if there's an emotion, if there's a human being in that decision, man, go after that emotional one, because you will kick yourself in the ass. Guaranteed, as people watch this video and listen to that part of it, there will be people in the comments that will say, I'm still kicking myself in the ass for not talking to that girl, not talking to that guy, not giving those human emotional decisions. I wish I would have given it more thought, because now you'll never know. You can't go back and relive that. We see people doing this at high school reunions. They get back and they try to relive that, and it's never the same, because the emotion of a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 21, 2, 3-year-old making that decision under those young conditions and that young energy, you cannot duplicate that at 40, at 50. I don't care. There are people, oh, we've reconnected. And there are some love connections after that. But for the most part, it never works. All right? So I'm going to leave you with what I leave you with every day that I'm on here. And that is, if you take the time to do some thinking, and hopefully some of the topics that I bring up will bring up thoughts within you, I believe you are planning your greatness. All right? So again, I'm going to leave you what I leave you with every time I'm on here, and that is, plan your greatness. You know why? Because no one else will. I will see you all next time.